Today, we're going to answer some important questions like, what is an ISBN and when is it really needed? Is a copyright necessary even for a journal? What does the Library of Congress have to do with publishing a book? And is a barcode needed if most sales take place online? Before we get started, full disclosure, I print and sell journals through the Lulu Direct app on a Shopify website, which allows me to bypass some of these processes altogether. And you should also know that I'm in the final stages of writing a book, which is just one reason why I've decided to research these topics from multiple angles. Let's dive right in so you can decide what's right for you. Before we jump in, I want to point out some resources that have been very helpful. The most notable one being the book shown here by David Wogahn. Over the past few weeks, I've read dozens of articles and watched many videos, and I felt like I was chin deep in conflicting and partial information. A few days ago, I came across David's ebook and read it in its entirety. I found it to be a great basic resource. It confirmed details and clarified conflicting information. I'll be reading some of his other books as I dive deep on topics for future videos too. Keep in mind, his book was published in 2020, so there are a few details that have changed since then. One example is that INGRAMSPARK now provides free ISBNs, and in the book, it says that they don't. With that said, there is a lot of valuable content, and I highly recommend that you check out his ebook. It's $4.99 on Amazon. Another resource that I came across during my research is iWriterly, which is a YouTube channel that provides a lot of helpful information for writers. Although the content I found did not apply to this video, there's a lot of great information on self-publishing fiction and book marketing. Those are just a few examples that may be helpful for you. A link to David's book and some recommended videos created by iWriterly are linked in the video description below. We're focusing on U.S. copyrights and why getting a copyright may be the right choice for authors and for those currently focused on selling journals or planners. You may already know this, but it's worth clarifying that getting an ISBN and publishing your book is not the same as registering your work for a copyright. On that note, getting an ISBN from a self-publisher, for example, does not mean you're giving up ownership or control of your copyright either. ISBNs and copyrights are not the same thing and serve different purposes. According to copyright.gov, a copyright does begin at the time an author fixes the work into a tangible form of expression. And it's also true that registering your copyright is necessary to enforce the exclusive rights of copyright through litigation. Untimely registration also allows copyright owners to seek certain types of monetary damages and attorney's fees if there is a lawsuit. Copyright registration also allows people to find copyright ownership information, and it provides the public with a notice of copyright protection. So what does all of this mean? Let's take a look at a few copyright types that could apply to you and the benefits of registering for them. So as an author or an artist, you do have immediate and automatic ownership of your work, but registering for a copyright can provide notable advantages. There are two types of copyright registrations that we'll be looking at today. The first one is a copyright for literary works, which is the copyright you would need to protect your book. The Copyright Act defines literary works as works other than audiovisual works, expressed in words, numbers, or other verbal or numerical symbols, such as books, periodicals, manuscripts, phonorecords, film, tapes, discs, cards, in which they are embodied. And as best as I can tell, the estimated processing time is on average 6 months, but could be more. I've seen some people report that it took about a year to receive approval for their copyright registration. And if you feel like a copyright may not be important, you should know that there may be more cases of copyright infringement than you currently suspect. Registering for a copyright legally prevents someone from copying and distributing your work as their own, or from performing your poem as their own, or displaying or selling your art as their own. There are many reasons to register for a copyright, but it's mainly because registration creates a public record of ownership and provides you, the author or artist, with legal advantages when and if an infringement of your copyright occurs. A copyright also gives the author or artist the sole right to grant permission to others to use or publish their work. If you don't have past experience with your work being stolen or misused that you know of, registering for a copyright might seem like a bit of a reach. But as you're considering what is right for your situation, it's important that you know that having a copyright could be the determining factor in whether a lawyer will work with you and if you're able to pursue litigation at all. The second copyright worth mentioning is for visual arts, which include a wide variety of pictorial, graphic, and sculptural works, as well as architectural works. Examples include paintings, sculptures, and photographs, and more. This copyright could apply if you're displaying your own art on the cover of a journal or planner. The processing time on average is 1 or more months. I've seen reports of it taking between 3 to 6 months at times. Personally, I registered for copyright for one of my own paintings, and it was approved about a month later. Here is an example of a journal cover, and as you can see, the artwork displayed here has been applied to my journal as well as multiple other products. And this is just an example of some of my art that's been copyrighted. Not every journal cover will qualify or need a copyright registration, but if your journals include artistic creations, you might want to explore getting a copyright registration. And before we move on, as you consider whether a copyright is necessary for you, literary and artistic creations can and do get stolen. Ebooks, blogs, photos, illustrations, programs, and artwork on journal covers, products, and websites. These are just a few creations that may be considered high value to others who may not have the time, money, expertise, or capacity to create them. Literary and artistic creations can even be purchased and then promoted and sold on a website that's not yours. They may change details like the cover or title of an ebook, for example, but the content that you created is now potentially generating income for them instead of you. And in all honesty, a copyright may not stop this from happening, but it may stop them from selling your content when they're caught. And it opens the door for you to pursue litigation and receive compensation. And it may reduce related expenses along the way. Let's go to the copyright.gov website so you can see where to register for a copyright when and if it's right for you. We're at copyright.gov and we navigated to the registration portal just by clicking registration here and selecting types of work. So that's the page that we're on. And if we scroll down just a bit, you'll see all the different types of copyright registrations that are available. The two that we're talking about today is for literary works, seen here, and for visual arts, seen here. So let's take a look at literary works. By scrolling down, you can see some general information about this copyright and its definition. This button here is what you would click on to begin your registration process. And if you want a peek into what that registration process looks like and what questions you may be asked, you can look at their video tutorial section. This will walk you through every step of the process so you can see that in advance. And if we click on visual arts, we can see that it's generally the same layout. You've got some general information up here. The definitions are categorized here, so you can see what that is. You can register for your visual works just like on the other page. And then there's tutorials here, just as there were for literary works. Now, what about frequently asked questions? There's a lot of things that may come to your mind when it comes to copyright registration, different questions that you might want to know more about. If we go to help here, it'll take us to their frequently asked questions page, and you can scroll down and look through all of the information that's made available to you here. It's just a quick way to access it. We're going to expand this section on copyright, just general information. And I want to navigate down to this question because I saw this come up quite a bit in the research that I did. There's this idea of a poor man's copyright. And so this addresses what is it and is it applicable? So the practice of sending a copy of your own work to yourself is sometimes called a poor man's copyright. There's no provision in the copyright law regarding any such type of protection, and it's not a substitute for registration. So I just thought, since we're here on that page, that might be something that would be good to navigate to, so you could see that. There's a lot of other information here that may help provide some insight into whether copyright is right for you and which copyright is right for you. And if we scroll down to another section of the facts, which is registering a work, we can access what is the registration fee. And right here up at the top is where that takes us to. And they want us to see a section of their regulations. It's called Circular 4 that covers copyright registration fees and information. And I've got that open already here on a separate tab. There's multiple pages here that cover quite a bit of information, but I've scrolled down to the section that just shows their fees. And probably, I don't know what your situation is, but you're probably going to fall under a basic registration fee, and the registration fees for online applications here is $45 and $65. So you're likely to fall under one or the other of those. But again, there's a whole listing here. And when you go through the registration process, it will allow you to see what the registration fee is. And you could pause or save your registration at that point if it wasn't a fee that you wanted to pay at the time. So you won't be forced into paying for something that you don't want to pay for. But in general, this is what the cost should be for you, probably between $45 and $65 for one copyright registration. We're focusing on verified information without getting too far into the weeds. I feel like this topic alone deserves a second video where we talk about the benefits of having your book in the library system and where we go over application details and best practices for getting your book into local libraries. If you have experience or perspective on this topic, please feel free to share in the comment section. And check out David's book if applying for a LCCN is of interest to you. He provides a step-by-step guide and checklist in his book. So what is an LCCN? The Library of Congress control number is the number associated with a bibliographic record created by the Library of Congress or another library for a given book. That's from the Library of Congress website. Authors and self-publishers who own their ISBN can simultaneously register a PCN account and apply for a LCCN. There's no cost to obtain a Library of Congress control number, and you would use the same LCCN number for each format of your book. For example, you'll have a different ISBN for each book format, but you'll use the same LCCN. So what is a PCN? Pre-assigned control numbers enable the Library of Congress to assign control numbers in advance of publication of books that may be added to the library's collections. When applying, it must be at least a month before your book is scheduled to be published, and your book must be available in print format. Most PCN account approvals take place within about 10 business days. Keep in mind, it's important to know that the Library of Congress control numbers are pre-assigned to works that may be selected and cataloged by the Library of Congress for its collections. Final determination of works selected and cataloged is made by a selection of librarians and recommending officers in compliance with the Library of Congress collection development policies upon receipt of your printed book. This information comes from the Library of Congress website, which is linked in the video description. What is the point of an ISBN? An ISBN is essentially a product identifier used by publishers, booksellers, libraries, internet retailers, and other supply chain participants for ordering, listing, sales records, and stock control purposes. The ISBN identifies the registrant, which is the publisher of record, as well as the specific title, edition, and format. And this is according to the ISBN International. ISBNs matter to the entire ecosystem: search engines, libraries, bookstores, wholesalers, distributors, inventory, and sales software, and ultimately readers. And that is from David Wogahn's book. Books, journals, planners published through Amazon will receive an ISBN and an AISN. Wait, you said ASIN. What is that? According to Amazon, ASIN stands for Amazon Standard Identification Number. Almost every product on Amazon has its own ASIN, which is a unique code to identify their products. For books, the ASIN is the same as the ISBN number, but for all other products, a new ASIN is created when the item is uploaded to Amazon's catalog. And also worth noting, Barnes & Noble has their own product ID, which is a BNID. This is the equivalent version to an ASIN. Back to ISBNs, when are they necessary? An ISBN is required to publish a book, planner, or journal, to access Lulu's global distribution, to circulate your book in libraries, and to sell your book with the majority of retailers. Having said that, getting an ISBN does not guarantee that retailers will accept your book and sell it. An ISBN is not required to purchase and then sell printed copies of your book, journal, or planner through your own business, or to sell print-on-demand copies via the Lulu Direct app with Shopify, for example. And an ISBN is not always required to sell ebooks. Something to consider as you're thinking about whether an ISBN is necessary for you. How do you plan to market, sell, and distribute your book? This can influence your decision on whether or not to purchase your own ISBN and how many you need. You'll need a separate ISBN for each format of your book, including ebook, softcover, hardcover, and audiobook. This is because the ISBN identifies the title and format of the book, which ensures that the customer will receive the desired format of your book at the time of purchase. You may also need an ISBN for each foreign language edition of your book. So to clarify, if you publish your book in English in the US, you can sell that book in any other country exactly as it is published in English. However, if your book is translated to another language, it will need a new ISBN to be sold in the US and any other country. Although ISBNs are sold by country, you don't need to get a separate ISBN for your book in every country. You can purchase an ISBN for your book in the country that you live in and also sell your self-published paperback globally using that same ISBN. All right, where can I purchase an ISBN? Bowker is the official U.S. ISBN agency with the exclusive responsibility for assigning numbers to publishers within the states. You can buy a single ISBN for $125 or a package of 10 for $295, a package of 100 for $575, and a package of 1,000 ISBNs for $1,500. There are some retailers that are authorized to sell single ISBNs that can be registered in your name. For example, INGRAMSPARK and Amazon KDP. In the video description is a link to buy an ISBN through KDP for a discounted rate of $99. And if you have an INGRAMSPARK account, you can purchase a single ISBN directly from Barcode through INGRAMSPARK for just $85. Keep in mind, though, that if you need more than one ISBN, then the package of 10, for example, is a better deal. Each ISBN in that package comes out to about $29. And if you sign up for a membership with IBPA, you can get up to 15% off all Barcode products and services, including ISBNs and barcodes. I can't verify for certain that means you could get a 15% discount on an ISBN package, but it appears to be the case. A link to their membership benefits is also in the video description below. Several other agencies are listed here as well for those who are not located within the US, including Nielsen ISBN Store, the ISBN Library and Archives for Canada, and the International ISBN Agency. Okay, hold on. What is the IBPA? IBPA stands for Independent Book Publishers Association. They provide membership-based services that have different levels. For example, the associate class, which might be the best for authors, is $109 a year. This About section is from their website. IBPA's mission is to lead and serve the independent publishing community through advocacy, education, and tools for success. IBPA's vision is a world where every independent publisher has the access, knowledge, and tools needed to professionally engage in all aspects of an inclusive publishing industry. Check out their membership benefits, which include discounts for a bunch of different services and products that authors may need, not just Barcode. There's a link to their services, their events, and resources in the video description below. So you might be thinking, what about free ISBNs? Let's take a look at some of the pros and cons. We'll start with the pros. ISBNs issued by self-publishers like KDP and Lulu Press are free and in some ways convenient. Depending on your situation, it may be all you need, especially if you only intend to sell your book, planner, or journal on Amazon. Also, you could publish with KDP and sell printed copies of your book through your website, social media, at events, just for example. Or another option could be selling print-on-demand copies of your book, planner, or journal through the Lulu Direct app on Shopify. Keep KDP terms and conditions in mind, though, like product pricing. Amazon wants to be the most competitively priced, so your Lulu product can't be sold for less than your Amazon listing. You can also unpublish your book with that free ISBN if you need to, and then publish under your own ISBN later. However, this can cause issues along the way. And just one example of that is I found that Amazon reviews are tied to the ISBN and they may be lost when you unpublish your book. I saw a comment from someone, though, that they were able to move their reviews from their old listing to their new listing. I'm not able to verify that myself, but that looked like a possible legitimate path. One downside of having an ISBN assigned to you by a publisher like Amazon or Lulu is that the ISBN is owned by them and they will be listed as the publisher of record. This can be a downside if you plan to establish brand recognition and credibility. There is also SEO value in being listed as the publisher yourself. You also can't use an ISBN assigned by KDP to publish or distribute your book through Lulu Press or to sign up for Lulu's global distribution. You can't use a free ISBN when applying for an LCCN. And finally, and it's also considered less professional by some retailers to be self-published, but it might not be for the reasons you think. When you use a free ISBN through self-publishers like Amazon KDP, this imprint is what will show for your book. independently published. And when conversations circulate around self-publishing, the question often asked is, does it make a difference to retailers if your self-published book displays independently published, or do retailers prefer to see an imprint showing a publisher's name? So what does less professional mean? Part of the reason why self-published books may not get the same level of respect as traditionally published works is that the quality of a self-published book may not be up to a professional standard. Basically, retailers may be looking for books that are going to sell. So quality in cover, formatting, font, organization, it all factors into the quality of a book. Readers are looking for a quality experience too. So a well-organized and well-written book is important, as well as font, formatting, and other editing details. When it comes to self-published books, and ebooks in particular, issues like font readability, poor use of pictures like low resolution, or a picture not being licensed, improper formatting, and content that is not mobile responsive can all have a major impact on the reader's experience and consequently sales. From what I can gather in my research, the fact that a book may be self-published with a free ISBN and displays independently published as the imprint may not necessarily be the core issue. It's more that a self-published book has a higher likelihood of not being edited or reviewed by readers, for example, before it was self-published. So the words independently published may be a red flag to some retailers that the book was self-published and may not meet their quality standards. I have found sources that say that self-publishing in and of itself is not a problem at all, and to disregard it as a topic worth discussing. And then other sources that point to the quality of the book as being the underlying issue as to why a self-published book could have trouble being accepted by retailers or purchased by potential readers. I think at a minimum, this conversation really drives home that retailers are under no obligation to accept your book and sell it at their store locations. What do you think about this? Have you ever self-published a book and also been accepted by retailers? I think it's clear that there's more to this conversation than what is discussed in this video, including what retailers are looking for and strategies on how to get your book into actual store locations, and maybe a comparison between physical stores and online stores, showing some key pros and cons that could be helpful as well. For now, I'll link to some resources in the video description that touch on self-publishing and what to look out for in terms of quality. So I should buy an ISBN? Let's take a look at the pros and cons, and we'll start with the pros. Buying your own ISBN is the most flexible option because they're not restricted like free ISBNs. For example, you can use your own ISBN on multiple platforms at once. And if you stop selling on KDP, you can continue to use your ISBN elsewhere. Listing your own imprint or publisher name provides brand recognition and credibility, and SEO benefits as well. And having your own ISBN allows you to apply for a LCCN with your publishing imprint. Bowker's Global Books Database and Books in Print Database gets your book in front of libraries, school systems, wholesalers, and retailers, which helps to facilitate that wider distribution. On the con side, there is a monetary cost. There's an ISBN fee, and it will be that times the number of formats for your book and the number of translations you'll need for your book. Also, it may not be necessary to buy your own ISBN if you're only planning to sell on Amazon. And it may not be necessary to have your own ISBN if you're primarily selling your book, planner, or journal on your website, for example, or through the Lulu Direct app with Shopify, or if you sell printed copies of your book, planner, or journal at events, through social media, and so on. So what is the point of having a barcode? As you might have suspected, an ISBN is not the same thing as a barcode. The ISBN acts like a unique product number, while the barcode is readable by a scanner and allows each retailer to manage their inventory and track sales. And since these two numbers are assigned to the same book, it's possible to track sales associated with the ISBN across all retailers. And when you purchase your ISBN, you can also enter in a price that would be associated with the specific barcode and ISBN. And so that's what this is indicating here. The 5 indicates that the price is in US dollars, and the price shown is $49.95. And this image is from the book Register Your Book, The Essential Guide to ISBNs, Barcodes, Copyright, and LCCNs. Is a barcode always necessary? Barcodes are needed for selling books in physical stores, but not for selling online. Other examples of when you wouldn't need a barcode are if you're selling your book at events or through your own business, like your website or social media, or if you're giving away printed copies. And ebooks and audiobooks also don't need barcodes. If you do need a barcode, how would you buy one? You can purchase and download a barcode after you create an account at Barcode. The cost for a barcode is about $25, which is before applying discounts like the 15% off available to IBPA members. Aaron Graphics and Barcode Graphics are some other options where you can purchase digital barcodes, even for free, and up to $15 that can be incorporated into cover designs. Aaron Graphics also sells barcodes that can be applied as stickers. Free barcodes are also available via publishers like Amazon, KDP, and INGRAMSPARK. So what's next? There's a lot to consider when looking at how to proceed and what might be best for you. I don't know where you're at or what's important to you, so I'll just share some thoughts that come to my mind at this point in the process that may help you decide whether or not a copyright, ISBN, LCCN, and barcode are right for you. The first thought that may sound like something we can figure out along the way, and in some ways that's true, but having a perspective that is a good fit for you can make all the difference in what decisions you make from the very beginning. Is publishing a book or journal more of a hobby for you? Or do you need and want to generate sustainable revenue? You might consider viewing your book as a product that's also a work of art. And on that note, if the benefits of a successful business are important to you, you may consider viewing yourself as a business owner. Having a perspective that matches your intentions may help put into focus which path is right for you. When it comes to quality, it's clear that a lack of quality in writing, editing, formatting, cover design, and so on can have major impacts on whether your book will be accepted by retailers or purchased by readers. This is definitely not one to skip over or ignore. Another thought that stands out to me is that in most cases, regardless of what path you take, you will be responsible for some, if not all, of your own marketing. Exploring retailer options and requirements before publishing can provide a real knowledge advantage as you're making decisions. And on that note, considering how beneficial those retailers and wholesalers may be for you is also just as important. Publishing imprints was originally a topic I planned to cover in this video, but I learned along the way that the details can be very nuanced. I purchased David's book on imprints and will add this to my list of topics to research further. In the meantime, I wanted to mention the importance of it here because imprints are a part of the process when you decide to buy your own ISBN, and They could play a role for you in marketing and establishing your author credibility. There's so much more information to cover, and it's clear to me that many more videos will be needed to cover these crucial details. What are your concerns? What are you most interested in learning more about? Share your thoughts in the comments below and feel free to provide tips, ideas, advice. We're all learning from each other, and shared experiences and information is truly powerful.